now watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Happy trade deadline week, my friends. What's going on? It's the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Betano, Nick Alberga, and Jay Rosehill. What's going on, Rosie?
It's trade deadline this week. I'm still reeling from the weekend. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I guess you're so jacked up for that Reeves fight that you lost all track of time and anything transpiring. Ilya Lyubushkin in and out of the lineup. I guess he's back now. But yeah, lots happening. I'm very curious to see what this Leafs team does over the next couple days.
Yeah, me too. It'll be interesting to see where they stand. Good news to get Bush back on the ice. And now everyone can relax about that hit. My goodness, Leafs Nation, we're very sensitive.
Yeah, your boy Tim Peel, former NHL official, was just driving everybody nuts with his call on social media. I don't even respond to that guy. He just always tweets at me, and it's a quick flush. I don't need to engage in that conversation. We got some exciting news first and foremost. We got a lot to tackle on today's show. It's going to be a lot of fun. But in case you missed it over the weekend, there's finally another show on the Leafs Nation YouTube coming, and that starts tonight. It's called The Leafs Nation After Dark with Zack Phillips. I went on his show over the weekend to announce it, and the first ever The Leafs Nation After Dark happening tonight. Essentially, it's a post-game show. Zack's a one-man show. He's going to hop on here in about 30 minutes or so, break down what to expect. It's a big one, too, in Boston and Toronto at Scotiabank Arena. But this is really exciting news for the brand and the team here over at the Leafs Nation to have a brand new show pumped out starting tonight, Rosie.
Yeah, totally, man. I'm excited for it. I think we needed something kind of post-game. Our hands are full here with our 5-day-a-week show, but I feel like it was kind of missing that reaction to every game. And Zach's super organized. He's got all his stuff together. You look at his show, he pumps out an hour every post-game and breaks it all down, and he's sitting there all by himself. So there's tons of content in his mind that he gets out there, and we're going to be able to take that up on our channel, and me and you can jump on afterwards as too. We can have him on our show and just all kinds of back and forth. It's fantastic to grow the brand and to have a guy like him come into the wings. I'm excited to get it going.
The crossovers are going to be fantastic, as Rosie just mentioned. We will pop on from time to time on the Leafs Nation After Dark. Zach's going to come on here as well quite a bit, I believe once a week, just to break down everything transpiring over there. And again, keep it locked. It starts tonight, the Leafs Nation After Dark. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page at the Leafs Nation 401 Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast as well, but specifically here on YouTube at the Leafs Nation 401. I believe just moments after the final buzzer, final horn, Zach will get the show underway, recap. The chat's going to be on fire. I know I see some of you already migrating over from Zach's show over on his YouTube page here. So we're excited to have Zack Phillips again. He's going to join us in about 25. Want to mention as well, starting later this spring, Rosie, you have the perfect place to watch Leafs games in Toronto. Greta Bar YYZ, which has sister locations in Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver, will officially open its doors on King Street West, my alley, as we all know that. Not only will it be a fantastic place to watch a game, but it'll be your go-to spot to pre- and post-game before and after home games. Also, if you're in the GTA and you're looking for work, Greta YYZ is hosting a hiring fair on March 9th and 10th. That's next Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. The address is 590 King Street West, 590 King Street West, and they're hiring all positions. For more information, you can find them on Instagram at Greta Bar YYZ or visit gretabar.com. I know we visited the Edmonton location together. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I went out with those guys too. Our last night one of the nights on All-Star Game there, and I saw Greta was getting it was just getting finished up as far as construction and the renos on that building, and it's right in the heart of everything you want to do and be part of. So their locations they already have, I can tell you. If you're a hockey fan or a bar bouncer, anything that likes that type of thing, it's exactly what you're looking for. It's going to be awesome. So when that's up and running, make sure you go check it out. It's a really good spot.
Big things happening. There's no doubt about that. Speaking of which, let's preface this conversation. You haven't already, check out our YouTube page, as I'm sure you're on right now, at the Leafs Nation 401. Third wine glass in, Jay Rosehill put together a video breaking down the Reeves Rempe fight. Can you confirm it was just 3 glasses of wine?
It was. I was kind of tired. I had a big weekend, some late nights. I was working this and that, and it was after, and I'm like, I just want to put something out there. And sitting on my couch thinking about just got the kids down and just kind of broke it down over a nice glass of rouge. And I don't know. I think I might start doing that after
Yeah.
particularly polarizing events.
Well, I mean, not to bring back old practices on this podcast, but we had 3 hits with Rosie last year, and then some
Yeah.
involved didn't want to do that anymore, so we stopped doing that. We had Rosie fight breakdowns, but then we couldn't play video on the show, so they're back. They're back in full flex. You're gonna have Rosie on screen breaking down fights. There's nothing better. So for those of you who missed it, why not break down the fight here on this show right now, Rosie? Rempe versus Reeves. We've been waiting all week. I didn't think it was going to happen. Firstly, what did you think of it happening with like 6 minutes left in a 2-2 game? I didn't foresee that.
Yeah, I really thought once it was kind of by the halfway point of the second period, I was like, because in a game it kind of all switches and momentum's kind of decided and teams kind of set up to what their position is, whether they're trailing, leading, protecting a lead, trying to get that go ahead, whatever. And this kind of takes a back seat. But the thing was, Rempe's out there running around, basically blows Bush out of the water and puts him out of the game. So it's kind of unordinary for the guy who's leading the game in the third period to go and challenge their tough guy, because you leave yourself open to giving the momentum to losing or to having a hiccup and letting them kind of have that, oh yeah, now we're in the driver's seat. And but when you're running around like that, Revo won't put up with that. And Rempe was one that didn't really want to, and Revo put him on the spot and forced his hand. And the scrap I thought was great. Rempe used his reach more than he normally does, but he's going to need to do that more and more with his size, because he tends to eat him, man. And Big Revo, he timed his shots perfectly, was landing what he could. He can hide behind that visor. And for people that don't know, a guy as old as Rempe, new in the league, you can't take a visor off. Revo is not wearing a visor because he's grandfathered in from back when I was playing. If you had X amount of games around 2011 or something like that, if you had 25 games in the league, you didn't have to wear one. Everyone coming up, no matter what your role is, has got to have that on. You can't unclip it and throw it on the ice. Obviously, bare head getting fallen from up there, hitting the ice is not something the league's interested in. So it just is what it is. You got to peel that off yourself. But spirited fight. I would give it to Revo, just the fact that, he was timing his shots, landed whatever was landed in the fight was on Revo. And, this Rempe kid continues to make noise. I didn't have a huge problem with the hit on Lyubushkin. I hated seeing Lyubushkin leave the game. You could call it a charging, but people calling it a 3 to 5 game suspension. Like, for what? His feet were not off the ice until after contact was made, which when you're hitting,
He jumped
two
into him.
bodies, when all that pressure comes together, it's got to go somewhere. It can't go down into the ice, and it goes up. And sometimes guys will zoom in and pause and say, see, his feet are off the ice. Doesn't mean he's in midair flying through the goddamn air before he hit the guy. He didn't hit Lyubushkin's head, and Lyubushkin was in a spot that's dangerous, man. Like, these guys in the NHL aren't used to guys running around like that. Rempe's a bit of a throwback. But when you have a guy running around, you got to get up against the glass. And then he just wastes his energy squishing you against the glass. But when you're 2.5 to 3 feet off the boards and you're post just making a play and a guy's going to run you like that, which is legal to make body checks, it's the worst place you could be. And the reason his head was rattled wasn't because Rempe hit him. It's because he was so far off the boards, and the hit smacks him into the boards, where I don't know if guys like Rempe are going to start making a comeback. These guys are going to have to start learning to take hits the way they used to. And, you don't want to see guys leaving the game or anything like that. But when Big Rempe's out there running around, man, protect yourself. That's a big part of it. Call it a charge if you want. Throw 2 games on him. But you cannot start suspending and penalizing a guy based on the size of him and the weight of him. That's insane. I've heard a lot of that saying, because he's so tall, he can't be doing that. It's like, what planet are you on?
So obviously that was the source of the fight, whether we want to admit it or not. That happened in the third period, because very rarely, and you'd speak to this, obviously the best, but like a 2-2 game, it's very unlikely you see a fight. I love how Rempe looked at the bench too, and he's like, okay, I'm going. And they went, and I think he earned a lot of respect from Reeves in that situation. But like, going back to the hit, so you're saying, why are people clamoring over a suspension, but then you're like, give him 2 games? I think my
Give him 2
takeaway
games.
was
What do you
it.
mean 2 games? I didn't say give him 2 games.
Oh, they said 2 games. Give him 2 minutes. You mean?
2 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
2 minutes for
That was my
charging.
big
2
issue.
games. Fuck.
Yeah, that was my big issue with the hit is just the charging aspect. Yeah, I think it was a penalty. They didn't call a penalty, obviously. But I think a guy like Rempe is this such a mutant? Like, he's never going to realize fully how big he is. And I think anything the guy does, it's going to look awkward and it's going to look weird, right? I think Labushkin's like not a small guy, but he made him look like a fucking seat out there, right? I think
He made
anytime you
Revo
try to
look like a
deliver a hit or
child.
throw a punch, like it's going to look that way, no?
Yeah, agreed. Like he's a massive body, and I mean, why do you want guys that are big? Because they're big and they're strong and
Hmm.
they're overbearing to other players. I mean, look at the fight, man. When they're squared off, Revo
I
looks
know.
very tiny. It's like God. It looks like they just took Revo on the computer and just shrunk him down about
Yeah.
like 25%. It's like Jesus, he's a big man, and he can skate well. And I mean, it's like skating too hard to go make a hit. Like
Yep.
everyone, like we want the Maple Leafs, we want Willie Nylander to skate like that every freaking shift. We want guys, especially on your fourth line guys, you want them to be absolutely skating and chasing down pucks and taking away time and space and finishing every check. That's the definition of it. Here, a guy does it and everyone's up in arms, and the Bush isn't even hurt. He's out there again now, which is awesome. The worst thing I think
Yeah.
would be for him to actually have a concussion and for him to only play a couple of periods and then his Leaf tenure is done for multiple weeks or whatever. So great to see him back on the ice. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry guys, but everyone wants old school Maple Leafs hockey, and then someone plays it against them and they're up in arms calling for a suspension over. I'm sorry, it's just a good hard body check, and if you want to call it charging because he took 5 really hard strides before he glided in, he didn't leave his feet. I'm sorry. I've seen a picture of him, someone pausing it with his blades off the ice. That's after contact, which you can't stay planted on the ice after two guys come together to collide. So it wasn't as dirty of a hit as people are making it out to be. I know people are sensitive because Morgan Riley just got suspended, but you got to call a spade a spade. I don't care if it's the Leafs doing it or someone against the Leafs. I'm not going to change my opinion or perspective on the way hockey's played based on whether it's against the Maple Leafs or not. I mean, Rempe's doing his thing out there. He's a throwback and he's going to run around and hit your guys. So be aware of it and protect yourself and don't put yourself in shitty spots. And Revo did his job saying, whoa, you don't come into our bar and run around like that. We're going to have to be going. He put him in a position where he had to, or else he had to completely cower. And doesn't seem to be Rempe's style. So off they went. And I was surprised they did go at that point in time, but I was loving it.
Oh, it was great. It was a throwback hit, throwback fight. And again, I think the big root of the issue, if you want to call it an issue, was the fact that Rempe's like Andre the Giant. Like you're right. You look at it like this doesn't make sense. Like he's a Dano Chara size out there. And I
And
think
skates
anything this
well.
guy does in his NHL career is going to look weird, whether he scores a goal, whether he blasts somebody, whether he fights somebody. And I think this played a serious impact. Now, I totally understand those of you watching. I put out a tweet about leaving your feet being a vibe. A lot of that is
Yeah.
for engagement. I think watching it over and over again. I do think there should have been a penalty. Like I'm very sarcastic now every time something like this happens because of that fucking bullshit with Morgan Rowley, and I'm gonna let it be known on social media. But I think at the very least there should have been a penalty. Like this guy came from fucking Madison Square Garden to deliver that hit. But other than that, I couldn't agree with you more. He's a big boy and it's gonna look weird. That's all there was to it.
Yeah, it's what it is, and people can disagree and everything, and whatever. I just, it's of my opinion that
Yeah.
I mean, so many people want that harder hockey to come back. You want to be able to body check guys, like when guys are running and hitting like that, and I think like defensemen and guys got to get used to it again because it's gone away for so long. Guys aren't used to protecting themselves, and the guys aren't you see the positions like defensemen in particular put themselves into. It's just like Jesus, guy, do you not realize this is full contact hit hockey? And if players start to wrap their head around, oh yeah, like this is intense. Guys are running at you.
Yeah.
I gotta pull out of the way, reverse hit the guy, get against the glass, whatever it is to not get buried the way Bush did. Guys need to do, and it's a skill and it's part of heads up hockey. And if guys are going to run around and make clean hits like that, I mean, I'm talking about clean as far as not just blowing right through his head first contact. There was zero head contact. So, and people were saying his head got injured. So that's why his body check was shoulder to shoulder. The fact that his head bounced off the glass has nothing to do with Rempe. It's just, I don't know. There's so many different takes out there, and it's
Yeah.
like, God, do you hockey fans want it to be like old school? Let's play hard again, where we're running, we're hitting, we're challenging, we're fighting. It's intense, it's passionate, it's Darcy Tucker, Wendell Clark style hockey. Fucking sign me up for that stuff. But Leafs fans are gonna have to stop whining every time one of their guys gets hit if they want that style of hockey to be played, and you want them to build a team that looks more like that as well.
Very well said. Again, if you're watching right now at the Leafs Nation 401, hammer that like button, hammer that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Brought to you by DoorDash. It's time for the appetizer. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off up to $10 in value and zero delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more. When you download the DoorDash app, enter code NATION25. That's code NATION25. All in uppercase, 25% off your first order with DoorDash. Offer valid in Canada, subject to change. Terms apply. So, a lot happening during the game, but I think there was just so much to dissect and break down among it. Ilya Samsonov, I think that's the big surprising news today as we hit the ice for this show this week is that Samsonov, it looks like he's going to start here against the Boston Bruins, getting back-to-back starts. And he's been incredible, man. 10-3 and 13 appearances since being placed on waivers, made 32 stops against the Rangers on Saturday night.
Okay, so you just said he's been incredible. So why wouldn't he be playing tonight against the Big Bad Bruins?
Because I want to go back to Joseph Woll. Like, Woll was good on Thursday.
I know, but it's when you win a game like that, like
Yeah, but they won
that
on
game was,
Thursday. Wool won them the game on Thursday against a shit ass fucking Arizona Coyotes. So if you're gonna use that excuse, then Wool should have started Saturday.
but it's different with Wool because he's coming back from an injury. He hasn't been playing. You got to kind of ease him into it. And this is going to be the story going down the stretch
Yeah.
here. If these two guys are both healthy, like who's playing, who's more deserving. And you got to think about, Sammy to say, I've come back and in however many games it's been, a pretty good, sample size.
13,
He's
yeah.
been nothing short of great. And last game in particular, I mean, that game's over with that back door. He's nowhere near the whole damn nets to shoot at. And he fucking slides across with one of those like Dominic Hasek style of like acrobatic saves and saves the game. And it's the only reason that we're all pumped up right now. We just beat the Rangers. We got the 2 points. It's because of that save. I mean, that
Yeah.
game's over. That game got them the 2 points. And you just can't expect a guy to do that every night. Not everyone can do that every night. You play like that and be that solid for over 60 minutes. You can't just be like, okay, we're going back to the kid now. Sorry, you're backing up. Like you got to give him the crease again. You earn it. And until, depending on what happens tonight, you're gonna have to try to switch hit. But it's not gonna be this. It's not gonna be this perfectly equal. Everyone shares one. Wall, Sammy, Wall, Sammy. It's not. If a guy goes and steals the show like that, you go back to him, and I support that. And I mean, they're gonna have to do some schedule checking and crunching on who's going to play here, who's going to play there. And it's not going to be easy. And there's going to be some times where we're going, what the hell? This doesn't make sense. But the position that Keefe's in right now, you're going to have to do some finagling, trying to figure out who you're playing. It's not always going to be perfect, but you want to try to get both these guys rocking and rolling until maybe one emerges. But the tough part for those goalies is that if you have an off game, you're out. So there's not going to be a lot of, you get time to play through it and to figure your shit out. When two guys are healthy and solid, it's going to be a battle. And hopefully they both revel in that competition.
Yeah, I think it comes down to load management. I think your theory is flawed because I mean, Wall was incredible against Arizona, and then they don't come back with him. I think it just leads me to believe they're going to be very careful with the workload, understandably so, of a guy like Wall who's missed like 3 months. And I'm right there with you. Like Samsonov's the only reason why they end up winning that game. Had some issues with the way it went down to the wire in the third period. Like, I know Mitch Marner's tired, but it reminded me of the World Juniors in 07 where he iced the puck and the Russians iced the puck. Eberle scored the goal. It's like a better decision probably solves that game. I know he hits the side of the post. Don't want to be too hard on Mitch Marner because the big story in that game was Willie Nylander. You talked about that save by Sammy. Did you see the change by Nylander there? That was absurd that he's like, okay, now's the moment. I'm going to change, leave the Rangers on a 3-on-2 and Sammy to save the day. Like, it was one of those prototypical, like, weird ass nights for Willie Nylander where it's like, I'm engaged. I'm not really engaged. I'm having fun with Revo on the bench to start the second period after sitting 8.5 minutes to end the first period. What'd you make of that whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, one knock on Willie Nylander is he can kind of get that little "F you, I'll do what I want" kind of attitude going, right? And Keefe called out that line. I wouldn't say called him out, but just said the expectations for this line is to shore up this part of their game, right? And is William Nylander a defensive specialist? No. Is he ever going to be? No. But when this team is, let's be honest, this team's clicking right now. They're one of the hotter teams in the league. They just played what you could call the hottest team in the league where they're on a 10-game heater in the Rangers. They beat them. So they're rocking and rolling right now. They got some guys healthy. They've just made a trade. This week could bring back more. I mean, there's exciting times, and this team's starting to hit their stride. And the whole thing, I'm sure, is we need to start playing really solid playoff hockey. The reason we get knocked sometimes and why we lose to certain teams is we just don't have the defensive strategy that's working, that can prevent the extra goal from being scored where we just lose the game. And Keefe kind of brought that to attention pre-game about Nylander's line especially. So that when he's going out to his point, I mean, it's all about stops and starts, playing proper defenses, getting in lane, stopping and starting, getting back to the weak ice, getting back to the open man. And it's hard work to do that. And Willie goes out to his point man. I mean, the guy's got the puck. He tries to bat it by and go on a breakaway. It's totally blowing the zone. And then instead of being like, shit, that didn't work, crank it back to your spot. Woo, let's go for a little Sunday twirl, baby. And I mean, if that's a direct F you to Keefe, excuse me, to Keefe or not, I'm not sure, but like, that's just not what they're looking for, Willie. And then, like you say, after the first, he gets benched for like 8 minutes. Then he's joking around instead of being like, all right, I know what the boss man wants. I'm going to show him I got my big contract. I got expectations. I'm a leader on this team. I'm going to go do things right. Kind of doesn't really do that, does he? And that's a knock on Willie. And we've seen, highlights, lowlights, if you want, of him just gliding back or just totally giving a guy a free puck. And it's not a good look, but I mean, I'm not knocking on Willie. The things he does on the positive far outweighs any of that stuff. And it's just, if these boys are going to go on a run, you need buy-in from everyone. I don't love the look from Willie Nylander, kind of giving her the old, I hear what you're saying, coach, but I'll fucking do what I want. It's kind of an ugly look, and I don't expect it to be made out of anything. I don't think a big power struggle or ego trip's going to happen by either of them, but Willie's got to cut that out.
He does. Again, watching that, my theories, obviously as a coach, you have to push buttons a certain way. Every person's going to be different. My theory is that they know Willie can handle it, man. This happens like 5, 6, 7 times a year where they joust, they go at it. It seems like Willie's in the doghouse and he recovers just fine. Like he even recovered in game, right? This is what he does. Where again, I'm not going to single out other star players on this roster. We've done that before. But there are others on this team who wouldn't take it as well as a guy like Nylander. And I think that's the answer. Like, that was what I was looking for, an answer why it's always Nylander. You look at his numbers, look at what he's put together. He's not the only guy who makes tough decisions like that. I know people on my timeline over the weekend were like, oh, this guy doesn't do that. Yeah, they do. I mean, watch the games, watch the first half of the season. Every star player on this team has situations like that. It's not just Nylander. My theory is that they do it to Nylander because they know he can handle it and he won't bitch about it.
Yeah, I mean, Willie exudes confidence. He's not a guy that gets rattled easy. He's kind of in his lane and stays there, and I don't think you're going to rock the boat too much. His little hiccups defensively are more obvious and are more blatant, and they're more like you pull them up on video and they're like, ugh, like not only did you miss your assignment or whatever, but you just didn't even give a rip that you missed your assignment and went for a big old skate, and like it's obvious, right? And it's not great when you just got like told that your expectations are to be really, responsible defensively, and then you go out and do that. He buries right after to kind of, for his point of view to be like, shut the fuck up.
I know.
It's tough, but big egos, and I mean, you don't get to the level of William Nylander without possessing a lot of confidence, man. And I don't think he's going to be rattled by this. I don't think he gets rattled by much. Not a huge deal, but yeah, if just from William Nylander's point, take Keefe out of the equation. If he wants to be part of a special thing in Toronto here this year, he knows as good as anyone he can't be doing that kind of thing. Like if it's playoff time and he does that play on the blue line and they score to go, like, no, you just cannot afford that. And I'm sure he knows that, but it is what it is. He's not a defense first guy, but I'm sure come playoffs, he's going to have to shore that up, but I don't think it's a worrisome thing that we need to put a whole lot of spotlight on.
I was laughing watching the game and then monitoring you on Twitter at the same time, or X, I guess that's what they're calling it these days, where you're like, I really like these deep pairings. And then TJ Brody gave a gift to the New York Rangers, and you're like, well, they could still change things up over the next week. That's like, it's so Toronto Maple Leafs, where it's like 1 minute you're like, they're winning the cup. The next, you're like, oh my God, this team sucks.
Yeah, for some reason, just Brody McCabe. I like it on paper, but it just doesn't seem to work out as well. And Morgan Riley's on the wrong end of a lot of
I
plays
know.
too, like missing his man, missing his assignment, like his man scoring the big goals. Like I can count 3 in the last 2
Mhm.
games. So Morgan, let's find our guy a little more. Let's bear down. Like as good, he's the core of this D. He's their best defenseman. He's their most talented defenseman, certainly offensively. But you got to be the man on the puck too, in your zone and around your net. So that's kind of been a bit of a, he's able to maybe hide from that a little bit more because all the other things that he does on the ice and minutes he logs, I understand, but that's not going to be a theme in the playoffs if they're going to go hard. He's going to be the guy who's always in the spot, who's always finding that loose guy, who notices the guy that's going to get that puck in that soft spot and gets in that lane, those type of things. So there's that as well. But on the positive, like Mitch Marner, I like the way this guy is playing.
Been
He's
great. Yeah.
obviously fantastic, but none of those like little, oh my God, roll your eyes type of plays. He's just playing hard hockey, being very effective, being responsible, just awesome stuff out of Mitch. Just wanted to throw that out there since we tend to knock on him on the
Of
past,
course you
but
do.
lately he's
Yeah.
been fantastic, man. I've enjoyed watching him.
Is he strong enough to raise the Stanley Cup now?
I think he's been in the gym. He can lift that baby.
Okay, yeah. Your tunes change. We saw 12:02 of Ilya Lyubushkin. We mentioned he was on the ice for the morning skate. I believe it was a game time decision, but did you like what you saw from the short time of him? Back with Morgan Riley, by the way.
Yeah, I can't say that I was like
But
I
that's
had
the
some
good thing
people in
about
my
Lyubushkin, right? If you don't notice him, that means he's doing his job, no?
100%. Yeah, and I was kind of I had some people at the house and kids running around, so I
Yeah.
was trying to watch it really in depth, but like I can't specifically pick out shifts and stuff where I'm like, ooh, but nothing big like
Yeah.
detrimental defensively, no scrambling. He's just good at being in his position and stuff. He's not going to ooh and ah you. He's not going to wow you. But 100%, I remember being a defenseman playing pro and then
Mhm.
being like, if I kind of don't really notice you out there, if you're a defensive defenseman, if I don't really notice you out there, it's just because you're doing your job and you're doing it well. You get the puck, you move it up. They come down on you, you keep them to the outside. Like no big fireworks happen around you, hence why you're not going to be noticed a whole lot. And yeah, he did his job well. I'm glad he's not hurt. I'm glad he's on the ice. That's a really good sign because it just would have been. There's nothing worse than having a guy get a promotion or get traded or get signed and like Aaron Rodgers this year goes to the New York
Oh,
Jets and on the opening drive he blows his Achilles up. Like there's nothing more deflating. Like are you kidding me? So it's nice that he's back in, but again, my take on it was a good deal. We gave up who gives a shit for a
true.
stay at home responsibly defensive right-handed defenseman. Are you kidding me? It's a solid play and I want to see more of it from Bush. I'm glad we don't have to have him on the shelf.
Yeah, I forgot how horned up too. Calle Yarncroke makes Sheldon Keefe feel. I mean, he gets like he is fired up when Calle Yarncroke is out there. He missed 13 games, broken knuckle, return, so they took Robertson out. Robertson's back, sent back to the AHL. Maybe a trade's coming this week. You just never know. But Yarncroke plays with Tavares and McMahon. 1 assist, 17-11. Got a variety of different shifts in OT. Like we know this is probably the most trusted forward, I would say, and bring up when it comes to Sheldon Keefe, and rightfully so. But he loves Calle Yarncroke, and he's a guy he sort of forgot about the last little while because he was injured, right?
Yeah, totally. And you want to talk about a guy who can step up in the playoffs and be one of those shining stars that no one really had on their radar to that degree. It's a guy like Calle Yarncroke. He can play in every position. I mean, he can be your, bottom six guy who, creates some energy and gets it deep, but, has enough skill that he's being effective out there. He can be defensively responsible, but he can also play with the big boys, playing overtime. He can finish. He's got skill. He's just really well rounded and he can be that utility guy. And when you see teams win Stanley Cups, they always have a guy like that step up big. And it's like, thank God we have this guy that we can rely on that's not like, the Austin Matthews type of guy. It's a different role. He fills a void. And if he steps up his game and elevates and becomes a big presence in this forward lineup, he's going to be super valuable in the playoffs. So he's a guy I'm looking forward to be that guy this year in the playoffs.
Love his versatility too, right? He could play on your first line, he could play on your
Yeah,
fourth line, plays on your
exactly.
PK. Like it just there's so many intangibles that a guy like Calle Yarncroke brings to the table. Wendy's is letting you win real food with your fantasy teams this year in Daily Face-Off. For those of you who smoke the competition, Wendy's is rewarding you with weekly prizes that will have you winning despite your lack of team building skills. Download the Wendy's app, score yourself 150 bonus reward points on your first order, and grab a sweet victory from the mouth-watering jaws of defeat, along with some fresh, never frozen beef. Sign up to play Daily Face-Off to win weekly prizes like the spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's and the Wendy's app. So it's the Leafs and the Bruins, game 4 of 5 on this 5-game homestand. The Leafs 2-1-0. They've won 9 of the last 10, 13 of 16. And the third of 4 meetings with Boston this season, played 2 a couple months back, lost 1 in a shootout, lost 1 in OT. And they always get their best out of the Bruins. It's going to be a good one tonight.
Yeah, well, they're the Bruins have kind of taken a step back and the Leafs are hot.
Yeah.
So, there's reason to think if this is real and these guys are really got something going on, they could, tick off 2 points tonight, which I'm sure they're really looking to do. It's going to be a good game. Those big bad Bruins aren't looking as big and bad, but they still are the Bruins. They still are ahead of them in the standings, although they're catchable, which a lot of the time in the last couple of years, it looks like they're just uncatchable. And now all of a sudden they're on their sights and the Leafs are in the right direction and the Bruins are kind of not. They're looking for their footing. So I'm sure a big win in Toronto would be huge for the Bruins, but I'm looking forward to this game. Two heavyweights that could end up being, seeing each other in the playoffs in some way, shape, or form. And it's looking good. I'm really hoping the Leafs play, like you just said, their numbers in the last 16 games are phenomenal. So they're playing really good hockey, and I'd like that to continue really bad against those Bruins, man. A big win against them would kind of put them up where you look around going, who's saying shit now? Like, who doesn't think we're legit? That's what I thought. I'm looking for a big W tonight.
This is your ultimate heat check. We talk about heat checks a lot in this podcast, but Boston's like that foe, that rival that just always seems to get the better of the Maple Leafs. They're struggling right now. I got to find a way to get 2 points against this team. They've dropped 8 of 11. We talked earlier this year how the Leafs were that team who couldn't win in regulation. Well, Boston, conversely, has become that team. 7 of the past 11 outings for them have gone to extra time.
Yeah.
Toronto 6 points back of Boston with 2 games in hand, as you referenced. And some news and notes from the morning skate from David Alter. Ilya Samsonov was the first goalie off the ice and was the projected starter against the Bruins based on this. However, in Keefe's comments about the game plan for goalies, he hints at not wanting Woll to sit for too long. Tonight's starter isn't clear. So I guess we're playing mind games here. Yes.
You how have you not made that decision yet?
He
Maybe
has
that's
made the
just
decision. Just doesn't want Boston to know.
yeah, fair enough. I'm sure the goalies know. I don't know if the first guy off the ice isn't always um the indicative factor of who's playing, because Sammy, he could be tired. Where, like you talk about load management, he
He's
doesn't
always
need to be
tired.
out there a whole bunch.
Yeah.
He needs to go out. He needs to go out, get some treatment. Maybe he has an appointment somewhere. All good. And because Wool hasn't played a whole lot in the last 3 months, he wants to stay out there and get a couple extra little drills done and some work done. He could easily be playing tonight too. It's going to be a balancing act, man, trying to figure out what goalie is going to play, because I have a feeling they're both going to be playing well. They're both going to rattle off some wins, and you're going to have to, I like playing a guy after a win. Like, sometimes it's just that simple. You play as good as Sammy does, I think he deserves the crease tonight. But if you want to look forward and say, oh no, he's better suited for this game, and then we can go to Wool because there's back-to-backs coming up, you're going to have to play that, that somersault mental gymnastics, trying to figure out what's the best course of action. It's not always going to be perfect, but a good problem to have is 2 willing goalies who are more than capable, healthy, and ready to rock in your lineup. I mean, what a good problem to have.
The fuck is Martin Jones doing is my question. Like, what's his
Chilling.
day-to-day duties look like as a third goalie?
Same shit. I mean, he's not going to get the crease. He's not going to get the reps, but he's probably going to be out there early. He's probably going to stay out there late. He's probably going
Pretty
to get
sick job.
involved. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, right when Wool came back, like, you have already earned your entire salary this year. You got signed in case we needed something. We needed you to do your thing with your experience level and bail us out of a jam that we may or may not get in. We got in a jam. He came in. He bailed us out. He played fantastic. He has done his job. So if he doesn't touch the ice again, I still would just salute him and say, you had a phenomenal season. Everything that we wanted. Salute you, sir. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jones and what he's done for this outfit this year, because they were in a jam and it could have gone. They could be in such a different position such a different position if they didn't have Martin Jones for the period of time where they needed him this year. I don't know what it would look like, but they could be fighting for a bloody wild card spot if they went through a real big slide in December, January, that kind of thing. It would be ugly, and it's because of Martin Jones and his play that was able to help them stay in the fight and be in the position they're at right now.
You know, my dream growing up playing baseball was to be a long reliever and play in the show because it comes with the glitz and glam of being in the show, but you're not really in the show. Like, you're not in high leverage situations. You're coming in and mop up duties. And that's the way I feel about Martin Jones right now. Having said that, the pedigree's there. He's done his thing before in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but
Bullpen
I
catcher.
never, pardon me?
Vic said it in our chat too. I was going to say bullpen
Oh,
catcher. Everyone talks about that just being the cushiest job in
sick.
all of sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, no,
Hey,
it's just fascinating to me. Like, again, some teams, a lot more teams in this day and age are going with a 3 goalie system. I just wonder how long the Leafs employ this, if it's just something they're going with for the next couple of days leading up to the deadline. Did they make a decision with Martin Jones? I know a team like Philly, who Jones has played for before, is looking for a guy. Obviously, Cal Peterson's not working out there. Carter Hart's done indefinitely, and Sam Harrison's their guy, and they're still in a playoff spot. So that could make a lot of sense, but I'm just curious, like, do you think this is something that lasts for the rest of the season, we'll say?
I don't know. I'd like to give an opinion more after the trade deadline
Yeah.
when we know what it's looking like. I mean, if there's no reason for him to be sitting on the shelf and with his veteran status, they might talk to him a little bit, say, what do you want to do here? Like, obviously, your third string. We don't plan on any of our goalies getting hurt, but if they do, is it best that you're up here with the team and know what's going on? Or would you like
Mhm.
to go play with the Marlies a little bit, help them out and stay sharp and stay in game shape? We'll see what they do. Again, all the spotlights on the two big boys that are healthy right now that they're going to go forward with. So it's not an afterthought, but it's like not the most pressing issue right now. But being a professional, I'm sure he'll be able to stay sharp. And even if he's not on the Marlies, he'll stay sharp, stay ready. He'll be doing the drills, working with the guys in the gym, working with the goalie coach on all the different things that goalie work on, and he can stay in game shape the way they can bag those guys doing all kinds of different drills with some of the extra players and the healthy scratches and that kind of thing. I'm just not worried about him, but as long as we got the two healthy goalies, he's an afterthought right now.
Really is a dream job, if you ask me. Martin Jones, what he's got going on right now. He ain't playing, but he's probably having fun eating the caviar in the National League. This interview is brought to you by Douglas, named Canada's best mattress on Canadian living. Douglas is loved by more than 200,000 Canadians, and they're backed by over 10,000 five-star reviews. Every mattress order comes with a free comfort sleep bundle, 2 memory foam pillows, with pillow protectors, 1 luxurious cotton sheet set, and 1 mattress protector. Order today at douglas.ca/LMT. That's douglas.ca/LMT. In case you missed it off the top of the show, launching tonight, it's the LeafsNation After Dark with this man, Zack Phillips. Zack, welcome to the team, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. It's been a pretty exciting weekend getting to announce that I was joining you guys. I'm excited about the show launching here tonight and pretty happy to be on the show here this morning with you guys. So thanks for having me.
What can we expect tonight, Zack?
Uh, I mean, first and foremost, I'm a fan. I've never posed myself as an expert of anything. I got to play hockey at a high level, but that was just kind of capped out at minor. So I basically finished that and was like, all right, I love hockey. I love watching hockey. I love being around it, listening to it. I love talking about it. And I was like, I just want to put this into kind of some type of recap to break down how I feel coming out of a Leafs game. So it's going to be basically raw emotion of what we just witnessed, trying to kind of encapsulate what the game was over the last 2 hours and 45 minutes. And it's also just back and forth with a chat, what people think about what happened with the game, hearing opinions, answering questions, and kind of just going head to head with people on differing opinions there.
Yeah, Zachariah, we're pumped to have you, man. A post show is exactly what we need here. But tell us a little bit, like, where are you from? How long you been following the Leafs? How long you been doing your show? Like, what's the background like here?
Uh, so I'm from Toronto, or like I'm from the GTA area. I've been following the Leafs literally since the day I was born. I'm pretty sure I was born and my parents put a Leafs onesie on me. They used to tell stories about sitting me down. I would be crying and I wouldn't stop unless they would put the Leafs on TV. Matt Sundin, favorite player growing up, who used to wear number 13, that kind of stuff. So I've been around following the team for as long as I could remember. In terms of media and stuff like that and getting into doing this, I had started my own podcast. I've grown up around people who are currently playing in the NHL, playing pro hockey elsewhere. So I had all these connections to different people around the league. And I was like, you know what? This is what I want to be involved in some way or another. Started utilizing some of those connections, just doing some like regular podcast stuff. And then I was like, I want to take this and make it a little bit more Leaf specific. I just love this team, want to continue to follow it. And then that's what led me to start my own channels in the past there. And then that's what ended up leading me to having the opportunity to join you guys here. So it's just been basically doing this because I loved it more than anything. And I think that that's been the most important thing for me, is that at the end of the day, I just love this Leafs team as much as I might hate them, and people in the chat will get mad at me for hating them. I do love this team. So that's kind of the background on myself there.
Hate to love them. And Rosie, we went over it on the weekend. I think we're all three of us are in agreement on the whole Mitch Marner front. We're going to have that conversation a lot over the next 6 months. And sort of ironic, you're the third man into this conversation. Looking forward to the Leafs Nation After Dark tonight. A lot of people in the chat asking right now, will there be any difference to what you're already doing right now?
No, no difference in the post-game show. That was one of the things that I wanted to make sure was going to stay the same. From my standpoint, I was like, hey, when I was approached about this opportunity, is like, I want to make sure that I'm going to bring this show across the same way. I take callers on the show. I answer questions from the chat. People send me messages on the side asking things. All of that stays. I have segments doing play of the game, grades of the game. It's all staying. Like, it's not going anywhere. And then, I mean, Nick, you saw on Saturday night, I was lucky enough to have you come across, but I got these smelling salts here. I won't show them on the camera right now, but I have these smelling salts here. It's been something, I mean, people love misery. And I think that's why people like, especially Leafs fans, like joining me for the post game, because they're miserable a lot of times about the result or the way the team played. And then a lot of times they're like, you know what? I'm already miserable. Let's make this guy more miserable, and hammer away the like button. And then I end up having to sit there and do smelling salts on camera for people. So that's all coming with me. It's all coming with me.
Love it. It sounds good. I'm excited. I haven't hit the smelling salts in quite a while, so I'll be looking forward to that. Switching on to the actual Leafs right now. What's your take on the team right now? Like where they're sitting, what they're set up and prepped to do before playoffs? Are you excited? What do you think they need?
This year it's been a strange one for me. The years in the past, I've kind of looked at this team as, you know what, they're this really good team. Every year you look at, I'm big into betting, and you look at the odds boards, they're one of the favorites every single season going in. No matter how the year kind of starts, it's always broken down the same, where they kind of stick around at the top. But it's always felt like, hey, maybe they're missing that piece. It's that bit of grit. And we added it at the deadline last year in Achari and O'Reilly and McCabe, Shen, these guys that come to the team. And it's not just how they play on the ice, but it's kind of how they conduct themselves that you feel like, hey, maybe that piece has been missing a little bit. Last year was kind of a miserable season, just from the standpoint of, look, Matthew scored 40 goals, so it's hard to say, but he has a down year in perspective of what he's done throughout his career. And it kind of draws all this attention, this negative attention. Marner doesn't hit 100. He hits 99. Nylander's contract is coming up. So all this cloud is over it. The deadline finally comes. You add these pieces and it's like, hey, we're in a good spot here. We added it, but it felt like too much too late. Like it didn't change the identity of this team. This year, I felt like they added those pieces at the beginning. It took a long time for it to start to show here. And maybe the final turning piece to turn things around and get it going was the Riley cross check to the head of Ridley Gregg. Maybe that's what they needed, as insane as that might sound. But over the last 10 and probably even maybe the couple games leading up to that Riley cross check, I started to feel like the character of the team started to show, where you're seeing it kind of infiltrate throughout everyone else, which is leading me to be a lot more positive than I was at the start of the season. I'm sure there's people in the chat right now who watch my channel. They were watching me go on there and just be like, I don't care that they won this game. Like, the way that this team played tonight, it sucked. It was not inspiring. It was not fun to watch. And it doesn't lead you with this belief of hey, they can actually have success in this season. Now, the way that they're playing, I've started to turn the page. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys, oh, I think they're going to win the cup this year, but I think that they're much better positioned to have success in the playoffs than they have been before. And as for the deadline and what they should do, I've been more on the side of just having a quiet deadline. Add, add for sure, but like last year when you go and you add 7 pieces to this team and go crazy, I don't think you need to do that this year. I think you kind of got some of these pieces around you. I think you're kind of set up in a good position here where a lot of the character and stuff has already been added to this team. I think you're seeing the rest of the guys adopt it. I want this team to get better, but I don't think you got to go crazy this year.
Well, Zach, it's great to have you. Looking forward to the Leafs Nation After Dark and the official launch tonight. Appreciate you taking time, and have a blast. Great to have you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys, and look forward to the show tonight.
Same
Sounds
here,
good.
dude.
Once again, that's the Leafs Nation After Dark with Zack Phillips, starting directly after the Leafs Bruins game tonight. So make sure you check that out right here on the YouTube page at the Leafs Nation 401. If you're watching right now, please subscribe at the Leafs Nation 401. And Zach's a heavy hitter. He's our deadline pickup. He's going to bring it for us, and it's a great time to get him. Obviously, with the deadline here, and then the stretch drive of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the postseason is going to be outstanding. Having a post-game show too here in the Leafs Nation After Dark, Rosie.
Yeah, I think more often than not, I'm going to be texting them going, "Oh my God, I'm coming on today." Just to
Yeah.
fuck Leafs, man, Leafs, baby. And post games when you get the best reactions. So it's nice to have a form and a platform with him running it the way he does. I think it's a big pickup and a big asset to have with this outfit.
And the best thing about it, too, we love connecting with you guys in the chat. You guys are fantastic. We see all your chirps on a daily basis. You'll have just the very same opportunity with Zach if you're familiar with what he does over there at Third Man In, bringing the exact same show as he referenced right here to the Leafs Nation. So looking forward to that launch tonight. The Betano wrap-up is presented by Betano.ca. The game starts now, 19+. Please play responsibly. Major announcement. Betano is the official partner of Copa America 2024, taking the beautiful game to new heights in the Americas. Join Betano on the journey of passion, unity, and unforgettable football moments. Are there any bets that you like tonight when it comes to this Leafs-Bruins game? There's one in particular. I think I'm going to look at the under. I think it's going to be like a tight checking, low scoring. It seems like every time Boston and Toronto play, like Boston's going to play their best defensive game. It's going to be a struggle for the Maple Leafs offensively. It just seems like that type of night.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't mind it. I was just looking towards props. I think Austin Matthews is going to bury. And I just like the way, Bertuzzi's been involved to check out the value on some of these guys that you just feel could tickle the twine tonight. And obviously you're not going to get the most value out of Austin, but the clip that he's been scoring at and didn't get one last night. And I think he scored against Arizona, but I could see him getting on the board again tonight. Ride the hot hand.
It is always fun hitting the Austin Matthews anytime goal. Just the guy's an absolute machine. And as you referenced over the weekend, maybe that changes here against the Boston Bruins. So looking forward to this one and looking forward to tomorrow's show, Rosie, as we get closer and closer to Friday's deadline. I think we should bring up as well coming up on Friday. I don't believe we're going to be in our normal time slot. I will confirm that coming up tomorrow. I think what we're going to end up doing is doing like a trade deadline recap show almost directly following the final buzzer, I believe at 3 Eastern time, maybe around 3:30 Eastern. We'll pop on for an hour, just break down everything Leafs perspective wise and look forward to the stretch drive. How's that sound?
Cool, man. I'm down. It's an exciting week for more than one reason. Lots happening, lots to be excited about. So excited to get the our subscribers in the mix as well and give them a new show post game. Lots of fun stuff happening, lots to talk about. So looking forward to this week, man.
The Leafs Nation After Dark launching tonight. You never know. Jay Rosehill could pop on sometime wearing no shirt, and that would be perfectly acceptable because it's After Dark, which is phenomenal. So thank you to everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401. Thank you to producer Vic. Thank you to Zack Phillips for popping by. And Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk on Tuesday. Enjoy the game and take care. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at TheLeafsNation.com. Thanks so much for watching.